maybe more. I don't know if respect's the right word, but I think empathy's the right word. I think I'm more empathetic to players. I have a lot more respect for how hard the game is than I did when I was younger. I think that's number one. I think number two, I'm much more intentional about the connections and building trust and relationships. I think I'm better at that, thank goodness, as I've gotten older. I think I'm more concerned about the journey than I am the destination.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Clearing the Bases, the podcast where we step up to the plate and dive deep into the world of youth baseball. I'm your host, Jimmy Filangieri. On this show, we discuss all things related to the preparation and development of youth baseball players, coaches, and yes, even parents. So sit back, settle in, and get ready to hear from some of the greatest baseball minds out there.
I would say catch play is something that I think is very undercoached.
Yes.
And, it really is the cornerstone of the game. If you can't play catch, you're not going to be, you better really be able to hit. But I watch coaches across the country, they don't teach catch play.
That's right.
They don't talk about catch play. And a lot of it is, hey, look, I got volunteer coaches that hadn't seen them all day. We're trying to get together right before practice, or I'm trying to get another coat of water on the field. And what do? Hey, you guys go get loose. And you're sending them out there to do one of the most important things in the game. And so I think that was something that I changed a lot.
To be able to reach the highest levels of this game, you got to work hard. You got to get in the cages. You got to do your strength and conditioning. You got to throw your bullpens. There's all of this physical stuff that you need to do, and you need to work hard at it. But don't forget that you also have to get better at the mental side of the game. And one of the ways you can do that is increase baseball IQ by downloading and using the 6-Tool app.
For baseball coaches like you, every game brings measurable progress. However, game time isn't the time for trial and error learning. Instead, have a proactive approach. Use 6-Tool, the best baseball player development tool on the market. We provide a platform to level up your coaching strategy by helping you to quickly identify and address your players' knowledge of the game. By using our easy-to-implement interactive player quizzes, you can assess position-specific issues, overall baseball IQ, and much more. Win more games and develop better overall baseball players with effective off-the-field training. Visit us at 6-tool.com. 6-Tool. Get ahead in the game.
So if you remember, we took a little break from the end of March until, we'll say, the middle of July. But what amazes me is, since we've been back, man, we've been killing it. Our guests have been fantastic. I mean, all high-level coaches and really interesting episodes. So our guest today is going to keep that ball rolling. Chuck Box is one of the most accomplished and respected coaches in amateur baseball. His career spanned high school, junior college, NAIA, and NCAA Division I levels. Coach Box is a native of Columbus, Mississippi. He graduated from Freed-Hardeman University in 1991, and he began his coaching career as a student assistant. But what followed after that has been more than 3 decades devoted to coaching, leadership, player development, and building successful baseball programs. Coach Box has compiled an outstanding 735 wins versus 326 losses. That's a .692 winning percentage. His head coaching stops included, like I had mentioned before, Freed-Hardeman University, Itawamba, and I hope I said that right, Itawamba Community College, Jackson Preparatory School, and Hartfield Academy. His teams won championships at multiple levels and he earned numerous Coaching of Year honors along the way. His tenure at Jackson Prep was particularly impressive. In 10 seasons, his team reached the playoffs every year and captured 6 state championships. And before that, Box led, again, I hope I say it right, Itawamba Community College to a 148 wins and 57 loss record, with the program reaching number 1 in the NJCAA national rankings during his time there. In 2022, Box joined Jim Schlossnagle at Texas A&M as Director of Player and Program Development. During his 3 seasons in College Station, the Aggies made 2 trips to the College World Series, including their historic national runner-up finish in 2024. He then followed Coach Schlossnagle to the University of Texas, serving as their Director of Program Development. This past year, he returned back to Mississippi to become head coach and associate athletic director at Jackson Academy. One of the things that amazed me about Coach Box is that it's hard enough to go from being a high school coach to becoming a college coach, but going from being a high school coach to going and coaching in the SEC is just absolutely incredible. So before we get going, I just want a couple more things I want to mention. I mean, there's just so much I can mention about him. So aside from all of the stuff that he's done coaching high school and college baseball, he also served as a task force scout for USA Baseball, and he was inducted into the Freed-Hardeman University Athletic Hall of Fame in 2010. Coach Box is a particularly valuable voice on coaching, leadership, culture, and long-term player development. Hiya, Coach. I want to thank you for coming on. This has been something that I've been wanting to do for a long time.
Well, thank you for having me, man. It's an honor to be on your show.
No, I appreciate it greatly. I mean, we had a chance to meet last November when I was down in Austin. We talked briefly for, I don't know, not even a minute, shook hands, said hello. And, once I left.
At the youth summit, right?
Yes.
Was it at the youth summit? Yeah. I remember that. Yeah. That was fun.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, it's really a fantastic thing. So I was
really
happy to meet you and the guys down there. And it was a treat.
You.
It was a treat.
Yeah. Good to meet you too.
Yeah. So, all right, let's jump into this. So talk to me. I mean, I know you've been through, every level of baseball that there is, high school, college, NAIA, JUCO, Texas A&M, Texas, and now you're back at high school. Give us a rundown, of your career.
Well, so one of my wife's friends said the other day, we've been married to my amazing wife, Amanda, for 36 years, most talented person I know. But one of her friends described it best. She said, being married to you is like riding a Bronco. You just grab a hold and you never know what's going to come. So I have had an interesting career. It's been a lot of fun, and I've met so many amazing people like you along the way. And baseball has just given me so many cool opportunities, and I'm just grateful for every one of them. And people ask me all the time, like, what's the difference? Like you were here and then you were here, and now that you've been in the SEC, and I always answer that question like this: the baseball's baseball, playing catch is playing catch. Young men are young men, and matter of fact, the guys at Texas and Texas A&M, it was probably harder for them mentally and sensitivity, and because there was so much noise and so much pressure. But kids are kids. The biggest difference between high school and college is the pace of everything, not just the game, the way the game's played, but the pace of the way information is processed and the way that answers are expected to questions, and just the pace of the day, the pace of the month, the pace of the year. And then the other thing is just the roster management. It's just so complex now, and college coaches, especially in Division I baseball, they're managing the roster every single day because of recruiting and transfers and re-recruiting your guys in the transfer portal and when the draft is. And it's just such a complex jigsaw puzzle that those guys are always balancing. And sometimes it's a little bit unfair, the criticism they get. The system is not advantageous to them in the way they have to do things. But those are the two biggest differences, I think, between high school baseball and college baseball at the highest level. But other than that, it's baseball.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much that changes.
Well, I mean, I agree with you, that baseball is baseball. However, okay, very, very few coaches will jump from high school ranks to the SEC. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that says a lot about what you do as a coach. And, I can tell you one of the things where I pretty much first became aware of you was some of the stuff that you put out on X, and it might have even been Twitter back then when I first.
Yeah, Twitter. Yeah, I still call it Twitter. Yeah, I need to call it X, but yes.
When you would put out practice plans and you would put out like weekly practice plans and those type of things, you actually put out something one time about your binder, that you had for your high school team, and all of that stuff that you did, because believe me, I'm going to tell you right now, I was a thief and I stole all of it from you.
Well, great. Thank you. I'm glad you did. I'm flattered. Thank you so much.
But, that type of organization, that type of dedication is something that you don't see often. So, that says a lot about you. How did that transpire? How did you become so organized and
yeah,
so detailed?
Well, thank you so much for that compliment, first of all. But the backstory to that is out of necessity. A lot of great things are born out of necessity. So when I first started coaching, I was 24 years old, Jimmy. I was coaching at Freed-Hardeman University. I had 2 graduate assistants. I was crazy. We worked 18-hour days. The fact that Luther Bramblett and Mike Johnson still speak to me to this day is remarkable because I was a crazy person. But I didn't have enough help and enough coaches. So one of the ways that I could be better than other people, or I could be other people, was to be more prepared and more organized. And I remember I've told this story a lot on podcasts, but I think my first year coaching, our center fielder was a senior. He ran our outfield drills because I didn't have enough coaches. So I had to build a system that was franchisable, something that I could plug different people into. And I had to be organized, really not necessarily because I wanted to be, because I had to be. And I thought that it would be a way that I could outsmart my opponents, the other coaches. And what's happened over the years is that's just kind of followed me. It's just kind of been part of who I am. And when you do something for 30 years, hopefully you get a little better along the way. And so it just became a part of my DNA. And, it's kind of funny you said that. I get criticized sometimes. I'll get every now and then somebody will talk about your preparation and you got to be flexible and it's rigid. And my argument is always this: if I spend a lot of time sharpening the saw, it's going to be a lot easier to cut the wood. And so to me, it's the opposite. When I'm over prepared and I'm super prepared, and I can adapt and be more flexible, honestly, if I'm that way. But it's just kind of followed me, and hopefully I've gotten a little bit smarter and a little more efficient along the way. As far as the career goes, just being around the right people at the right time. Jim Schlossnagle gave me an opportunity to be a baseball coach at Texas A&M. I'm still not 100% sure why Coach hired me, but we had a mutual friend named Bill Mosiello, who I think is one of the best coaches ever in the history of baseball. I'll say that, certainly in college baseball, and probably one of my biggest mentors. I've learned so much from him. But I got to know Coach Schloss through Mo, and we developed a friendship. And when Coach gave me the opportunity to go to work for him, it was a dream come true. And those 5 years with him were incredible. I learned so much from Jim Schlossnagle, a lot of stuff that we're doing here. Matter of fact, even some of my language and mannerisms are the same that I got from Coach. And so people used to call me all the time and say, "Man, I want to do what you do," and I would say, "You can't. Like that career path is just really odd. Nothing I did. It's just a really weird path, but one that I'm super grateful for. But I'm glad to be a high school baseball coach again too. I miss being a head coach. I miss leading a program, and I'm very happy to be back at Jackson Academy."
Well, I know what you mean by that, because this past season was the first time ever in my career that I was an assistant coach. And I'll be honest with you, I'm chomping at the bit to get back to being a head coach
again.
Yeah.
Well, I really, one of the things I took a lot of pride in is I tried to be whatever my team needed. And my role at A&M was different than at Texas, and it was different from when our staff dynamic changed. I changed a little bit too, but my job at Texas A&M in Texas was support Coach in every way, to be his right hand man, support him, and then to help the people in our organization to be the best version of themselves. That was my job there.
Yeah.
And I like being, I enjoy being an assistant coach. I don't know that I would have want to be an assistant coach for just anybody, but working for Jim Sosnagel was one of the highlights of my career. But he and I talked over the last couple of years, and I wanted to be a head coach again. And I have a ninth grader, and I have older children, and my rhythm of life, I'm 58 years old. I still think my best coaching days are ahead of me, but I wanted a little different rhythm of life. And my father passed away about a year and a half ago, and I wanted to get closer to mom. So there was a lot of different things that kind of led to this decision. And I'm very happy that I did it.
Yeah, and I mean, again, kind of similar that we started being head coaches very, very young.
Yeah.
And, it became, I always said that when I said it, I've always been a head coach, that's not bragging. That's actually not a good way to get anywhere.
I agree. Especially, and the thing that I had at Freed Hardeman when I was 24, there were no expectations. It was almost like a laboratory.
Yeah.
And I could just try stuff and fail and try it again. And we failed a lot, and we did a lot of that. And we learned and we grew. And like I said, Luther Bramlett at Midway, Mike Johnson just finished his career as an athletic director at Marshall County in Kentucky, two of my best friends. And they put up with me. But we were all in a situation where we were learning. But I look back now, and I wish I could coach a lot of those kids again.
Yeah.
Because I'm better than I was then. And I would do some things different, but it's a part of my story, and it'll always be a part of that story, and I don't run from it, but I would have done it a lot different knowing what I know now. That's for sure.
Well, I tell you, it's funny because I say that to my son all of the time. I say, you know what, Vin? I said, it's a shame that you got me as a coach when I didn't know very much. I said, I wish I could coach you now when I know a lot more. So
I
very
feel the same way.
Very, very similar. But all right, so let's talk a little bit about, because again, this is a youth baseball podcast, so I like to get into to stuff about like development and culture and stuff like that. But let's start a little bit with development, because one of my pet peeves is that kids nowadays, in my opinion, okay, they play way too many games, and I'm talking, from everywhere from, I don't know, from age 7 or 8 now to even high school players. They play too many games.
Sure.
So what would you rather do? Would you rather have, a 15-year-old kid, let's say, would you rather see him play 70 games or practice 70 times?
Yeah, I think the soccer model, the European soccer model, kind of had it right. And I think USA Baseball and MLB did a study a couple years ago and put out some recommendations. I thought it was really good. And it basically had a sliding scale. When you were younger, you practiced more and played less games, or less organized games. Maybe you would still play games, but it might be 2-pitch scrimmages or machine pitch scrimmages as part of a practice session. And then as you got older, it kind of flipped. You played more. We have a deal when I was running camps at Texas. Every Tuesday, I would meet with the parents. We started doing it, and we do it, once a week. Because I really felt sorry for the parents. I feel sorry for the baseball parents now. It is baseball is a confusing world right now, because I think most parents want to do what's best for their children. I think a lot of parents just don't know what to do. And I would get this question a lot, and my answer to it was, I think kids are playing more baseball now than they've ever played, but they're becoming worse baseball players in terms of IQ and knowing what situational baseball and how to run a tandem relay and how to make turns at third base. I don't think a lot of those things are being coached. And a lot of it is, you got dads who are doing the best they can too. But there's more information out there than there's ever been to be a better coach. So so I agree with you, but I think the model they put out was really more training, not just baseball, but becoming a better mover, mental training. So many parents invest so much money in pitching coaches or hitting coaches, and the most important thing they're neglecting is the mental game of baseball. We did a lot of work with Brian Kane, who I think is one of the best in the country. But if I'm a parent and I've got an 8-year-old, I'm going to invest some time in helping him mentally as well, and the movement piece. I think there's a lot, and I tell the parents at camp, it's like building a 3-story house. You have to build a good foundation before you can build a third floor. And a lot of kids' inability to field a ground ball well or swing a bat or get to a certain spot in their move is based on their lack of being good movers. So I think it's a combination of those things. The other thing, I think every family, it depends on what you value. For me growing up, we were going to be in church on Sunday. We didn't have travel baseball back then.
Oh, not when
Travel baseball was you played your rec league,
yeah.
and then they picked some all-star teams, and we went to Aberdeen, Mississippi, or maybe we went to Tupelo and we played another all-star team. That was travel baseball, and it was great. Um, but I think every parent has to make a decision on what's important to them. And the thing I say is maybe when they're early, instead of committing to a whole summer of playing 7 weekends, maybe you play three just to see how you like it. The other thing that I'm concerned about is when are kids going to be kids? When are they going to go fishing?
Yeah.
When are they going to ride their bike? When are they going to go on vacation? When are they going to be together as a family? Those kind of things to me matter as well. So I think to answer your question, I know it's a long answer.
No, it's good.
I do think that there needs to be some balance maybe and a little bit of perspective. And my thing has always been if there's Christmas lights out, then maybe you shouldn't be playing baseball tournaments too. That's the other thing that and I like kids to play multiple sports. I love some of the best players I've ever coached have been high school football players, especially quarterbacks. And I think the other thing that I've heard coaches talk about, I think Sloss has talked about this before, is kids that play other sports that maybe you're the best baseball player, but you're the seventh man on the basketball team. Well, that teaches you how to be a good teammate because you're not the dude on the team or whatever. So I think that's a really loaded question, and that's kind of how I answered that. That's how I answered at camp. And but yeah, I agree with you. We need to train more, and I'm not. You can still have game simulations in your training,
Sure.
But you don't have to always have a game to get better.
What I
Yeah,
like
I
about
agree with that.
what I like about what you just said is when you're training, and yes, you can have games while you're training, but when you're doing it in that type of environment, it affords you the opportunity. If something goes wrong, you could stop. And you could say, okay,
That's right.
guys, look,
Yep,
let's take a look at what just happened. Okay.
that's
Why
right.
did that
Yeah,
happen? And, you can go through it. So, yes, they're playing a game, but they're still learning at the same time because to your point, IQ it's almost non-existent anymore. They don't, you know, like when we were younger, we're about the same age. I'm a little bit older, but not much.
yeah, yeah.
We used to play in the streets and we used to play in the schoolyards and we used to play wherever we could play. And we learned baseball IQ because we were playing, just
Sure.
what's the word? We weren't frozen by that.
You were playing pickup. You were playing pickup baseball. Like we would go play pickup
Right.
football.
You,
Very
you
similar.
weren't
Yeah.
frozen by that
Yeah.
structure of waiting for
Yeah.
somebody to tell you what to do. We just did
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they're. And I'm not one of those. Today's we were so, get off my lawn. Years ago were so much better. But I think the kids that I see, I think my high school team, I think they probably watch less pro baseball than we did.
Yeah.
Which again there's the irony in that is there's literally a game. I have a TV right here. There's a game on every night, so there's more baseball to watch. And I think some of the kids do, but maybe they don't watch it as much as we used to. And I don't know that they play pickup baseball as much as kids used to. But I still think that the ability to just play what we call winning baseball. One of the things we did at Texas and Texas A&M, one of the things that Coach did, I reference Slots all the time, but we had a segment we just called it winning baseball, and it would just be situational baseball. Maybe it would be with a fungo, or maybe he would be given signals, and we're just playing baseball in a controlled environment, which was part of our practice, but it wasn't a game.
Right.
And we did exactly what you were talking about. If a situation came up, we would stop and coach would cover it. And some of the best work, and we started doing that as a high school coach when I was at Hartfield. We call it a winning baseball. And it's just simply maybe a 15-minute period where we're giving signals and we're trying to execute plays, or it's just a defensive thing where we're nobody on, nobody out, runner at first base, whatever. I think the other thing you can do is you can set some of that up in BP. You can have some more live BP type segments while you're hitting to create some of those game things. And then the other thing that I think kids struggle with is Nolan Kane called it getting in the pig slop. So when you hit, you just can't take feel good BP all the time. You've got to do something that challenges a little bit. And I think with the iPitch and some of the really nice programmable machines that are super expensive, but a lot of programs have those now. We have one at JA. I think putting kids in situations where you're creating game-like at-bats and environments in the training session is another way that you can help create the game environment without having to put a uniform on and go play a game.
Yeah, we do a lot of that, like when we're doing our winter training, because here in the Northeast, a lot of our training is done indoors because it's so cold, and by the time
is it snowing there yet? By the way, you guys got snow yet? I don't know how you people do it.
I was just gonna say, but
I went to the ABC in Chicago and I almost died.
Oh my God!
I don't see how you people do that, man. It's crazy.
As a matter of fact, we're back in Chicago this year, and I said, God, I hope it's not that cold again.
Why can we not go to San Diego? Oh shoot! Yeah.
But, I mean, and to your point, believe it or not, it really doesn't warm up until the spring season is just about over.
I know, it's crazy.
It really is.
I'm sure the falls are nice, but
falls are beautiful.
You have like 4 weeks of fall, and then it gets cold again. Though.
Exactly.
I don't like cold weather.
No,
that's why I live in the South.
Well, let me tell you this: I'm a couple of years away from retiring, and when I retire, I am out of here. I hate the cold.
Good for you.
I hate the cold.
You. I do too.
But to your point with with making competition out of hitting, because we're inside so much, so we'll do like situations in a cage where if you fail to do what we're trying to, like, let's say it's a hit and run and you don't get the ball on the ground, you're out. Get out of the cage. Next guy goes in.
Yeah.
So we create that competition that way where it gets you to focus and it gets you to concentrate on the task at hand. So yes, there's
a lot of ways to do that. I love it.
Exactly. A lot of ways to do it. So so let's go to your well, even at the high school level, but mostly at the college, because I ask a lot of college coaches this question: what fundamentals do you see are missing when you get college players? Because most people assume that when you get guys, and again, like at Texas, you're getting the best high school players in the country, but are they missing fundamentals?
I think if we recruited the right kid, not as much. But if I was to answer that question generally across the board, I would say catch play is something that I think is very undercoached.
Yes.
And, it really is the cornerstone of the game. If you can't play catch, you're not going to be, you better really be able to hit. But I watch coaches across the country, they don't teach catch play.
That's right.
They don't talk about catch play. And a lot of it is, hey, look, I got volunteer coaches that hadn't seen them all day. We're trying to get together right before practice, or I'm trying to get another coat of water on the field. And what do? Hey, you guys go get loose. And you're sending them out there to do one of the most important things of the game. And so I think that was something that I changed a lot later in my career. We coach play. We coach catch play. And if the one time you'll see me get on our coaches' asses is if they're not coaching catch play. If you go watch University of Alabama practice football, which I got to do one time when Coach Saban was there, part of their warm-up is the defensive backs are working on drop steps or man coverage. The linemen are working on their first step. I mean, it's done every day. So we call it our movement, which is our warm-up, and our catch play, we call it every days because we do it every day. Yeah. And so I think that's number one. I think that's one thing that I see a lack of. I think the second thing is just inability to run the bases. That's something that we valued at Texas and Texas A&M with Coach Sloss, and at TCU. You go back and Bill Mosiello. I mean, they're going to run the bases really, really well, and that's something anybody can do. You don't have to be great to be a great base runner. I think that was something that was probably missing. And you and I already touched on it. Situational baseball a little bit was probably a fundamental that was maybe lacking a little bit. And then I'm going to throw one out there that's a little maybe not necessarily the common answer, but strength training.
Yeah.
You could always tell in college the kids that came from the really good programs where the strength program was important. They had a clue in the weight room. I think some of that is educating parents. I've ran into a little bit of that at JA where I don't think they understand how important the weight room is.
Yeah.
I put a picture up this morning. We had our meeting with our junior parents, and I was talking about strength program. And I put a picture of us lifting at Texas after winning a super regional game on Friday against Oregon. Saturday morning, we're in the weight room.
Yeah.
You know, if we go on the road and we were to go to Oxford, Mississippi and play Ole Miss, we're lifting on Friday morning.
Yeah.
And when Auburn comes here to play us at Texas, Auburn's lifting. And so I think that's probably another fundamental maybe that maybe gets overlooked a little bit, which is definitely a separator for a kid who wants to play college baseball.
Yeah.
And you can look at a kid and tell if he's been in the weight room or not. You don't need to tell me. I can look at your body
Right.
and see what you're doing. So I think that would be a couple of areas that jump out to me right away that would be quote unquote fundamentals that are maybe lacking, maybe not across the board. Again, the kids that come from the really good programs, you can see a little bit more of some of those things. And some programs don't value base running.
Right.
So in fairness, a kid, he may not have been taught that because it may not have been important to where he came from. Yeah. And then I think the last thing is overarching, but being held accountable is another fundamental that's very much lacking. Being untruthful is unkind. So if you can't be coached and you aren't willing to be coached and be held accountable, to me, that's a fundamental that is probably more crippling than all of the other physical stuff I talked about.
I agree.
Do you want to get better, and are you willing to be held accountable and be coached?
Right.
And the best players I've been around, they want to be coached. They want to get better. They want to put the reps in and the work in to get better.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of things you said there that I can give you a couple of quick stories on. Let's work backwards. So the accountability, and it's hard. Okay, you have to be brutally honest, and you have to be willing.
100%.
It's
You're
not
right,
easy.
yeah. A lot of coaches don't have the stomach for it.
Right.
Yeah.
We were playing a game, and one of my pitchers disrespected the pitcher who was coming in to relieve him because he had had a bad outing. He got beat up, and he disrespected him when he came in to relieve him. So I didn't say a word, kept my mouth shut. But after the game, I said, "Come here." I said, "Let's sit down, let's talk." So he came over. So I said, "Listen," I said, "tomorrow," I said, "you report to JV for practice." And he just looked at me, and I said, "Do you know why?" So he said, "Yeah, because I didn't pitch well today." I said, No. I said, "You could have gave up 10 home runs." I said, "I would have pat you on the back and tell him we get him next time, buddy. Don't worry about it." I said, "The way you treated your teammate," I said, "we don't do that here. Okay, so you go down there, and when you want to be able to play with the big boys, then you can come back." Okay.
And you sent him down.
What's that?
You sent him down.
Oh, I did. And
yeah, I like it.
And
yeah.
You want to know something? It was hard, Chuck. It was really hard for me to do that to that kid because I knew it was going to hurt him.
Sure.
But I knew it was the right thing to do. And, he went down, and then sure enough, by the end of the season, we pulled him back up again. And, you know as well as I do, that's never going to happen again after that, right? So
no, and that's a good lesson for him to learn down the road
right.
after he quits playing baseball. Yeah, good for you.
Yeah, and then what you said about catch play, I could not agree with you more. And I've seen it firsthand. So, in other words, my catch play routine is a series of like 20 drills in that catch play. Okay.
Within the catch play. Yeah.
And I have a coach that's assigned to do that. That's his thing. You learn the catch play routine, you teach it.
Yep.
This past winter, I was training younger kids, and while we were training, we were in a big facility, and other teams would come in. And I was watching, like this one team in particular, they had 8 coaches for about, I don't know, maybe 25 kids. 8 coaches. When those kids were doing the catch play routine, like you said, the coaches they weren't even paying attention to what they were doing.
Out. Yeah, over there talking. Yeah. And it really is pretty shocking, and I just a couple of years ago we basically a couple of guys, we cataloged every throw that each position makes. And we just basically built them into our warm-up routine, and we basically have throwing progression light. It's, some people use like green, yellow, red, heavy volume, light volume. We don't do everything every day, but we do a version of it every day. And it may only be 1 or 2 throws of each particular one, but they're actually practicing throws they make in a game, and it seems so elementary. But like I said, if you go watch other sports practice, they incorporate those everyday type drills, the things that they do every day, they incorporate them into their either their positional defense or their warm up or whatever they call it, whatever period it is, they're doing it every day. And it really is pretty remarkable to me that
Yep.
maybe not at Texas and Texas A&M because those kids should be able to play catch, but our guys at our level aren't great at catch play. And you can just sit and watch somebody throw the ball back and forth at 90 feet, and you'll see how many balls are thrown away. It's really pretty remarkable.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, yeah.
But again, what you know, Bill Mosiello, I keep quoting those guys, but what you permit, you promote.
Yeah.
You know, and if we're permitting them to do that, then we might as well be promoting bad catch play.
Yep.
And so again, it comes back to what you're talking about, having the accountability, having the stomach to hold your team accountable.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because my phrase is very similar. My phrase is "you are what you allow." It's
I love it.
basically the
I love
same
it.
thing.
I love it. I love it.
All right, so let's move on to something else, okay? Because this is something that I want to know from you because I'm sure that things have changed. So you've been coaching for 30 years?
34th year.
34th year, okay?
34th year, yeah.
So how has coaching changed, or how have you changed as a coach in that time?
I think I am much more empathetic than I was as a younger coach. This game is really hard to play. So I think I'm more, maybe more, I don't know if respect's the right word, but I think empathy is the right word. I think I'm more empathetic to players. I have a lot more respect for how hard the game is than I did when I was younger. I think that's number one. I think number two, I'm much more intentional about the connections and building trust and relationships. I think I'm better at that, thank goodness, as I've gotten older. I think I'm more concerned about the journey than I am the destination. I want to win a championship. I want to get a ring. Matter of fact, my computer's sitting here on top of a box full of rings that I've been able to win, but they're in a box.
Yeah.
You know? And to me, it's more about the journey and the people along the way to get there. And I know a lot of coaches say that. You know, we talk about the process, but I think that's how I've changed a little bit. I mean, I want to win, but I think some events that have happened in my life over the last 5 or 6 years have really helped me understand perspective a little bit more. So I would think those are 3 ways that I've really, really changed a lot. There was a book a couple of years ago. I can't remember the name of the book, but at the end of the book, they asked Sandy Alderson, what's the great new analytic, or what's the new thing? And his answer was interesting. He said, empathy and implementation. And I've thought a lot about that. And I think that might be what a new age coach is, being able to be empathetic for players, because I get really upset when people talk about kids today. Kids today are awesome. We're coaching some of the best kids ever.
Yeah.
The world they live in is much different.
Yes.
A junior on our baseball team has to make more decisions in one day, Jimmy, than you and I did in 3 months.
Yeah.
And the noise out there. And I'm so fed up with criticism. You can't, everywhere you go, especially social media, everybody's a critic.
Yeah.
And we really need more encouragers today. So I think being empathetic of kids, and maybe they are more sensitive, I think.
That's true.
But being empathetic to the world that they're in and who they are, and seeking understanding and not judgment, I think is one. And then the other thing that Sandy Alderson said that was interesting, I've thought a lot about, is implementation. So how do we take all this noise, data, analytics? We've always had analytics. We've always had data. We just mine it differently now, and there's more of it. And I think it's awesome. Like, we're getting into a lot of it here. We just assigned a deal with Smart Park. So we'll basically have a cheaper man's TrackMan in our facility. So I'm all into it. But how do we take that data, the analytics, and simplify it and implement it to make our players a better version of themselves? To me, that's who I'm trying to become as a quote unquote new age coach. Jake Mangum playing center field for the Pirates now. I had the pleasure of coaching him in high school, and Jake. Let me tell you how we coached Jake. You want to know some good coaching, Jimmy?
Yeah, absolutely.
I told our coaching staff, I said, boys, there's only one thing you can say to Mangum. Atta baby. Don't say anything else to him. Get out of his way. Do not coach that kid. But Jake said something one time. It's one of the greatest compliments anybody ever gave me. He said, "You are the newest old school coach I've ever had." That's like the greatest compliment ever. So I want to have those old school values, but I think being a new school coach is a lot about what I just talked about, what Sandy Alderson said in that book, and I have thought a lot about what that really means. But I do think the empathy piece with today's athletes is much different than it was. You asked me how it's changed than it was 30 years ago. But you know what? I say that, and then I think back. I used to say, I was the kid that you could yell at and grab my face mask and get it, and I hear these old times, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm not sure I really liked that either back then. Maybe that was me, but like, if that's your definition of being coachable, I think I might have not had that right, and so I said that the other day to somebody, and then I got thinking about it. I was like, I don't think I really liked it when coach yelled at me or grabbed me by the face mask. I'm not sure that was ever a great way to coach a kid. And we tend to glorify the past like it was, but
Right.
I'm not so sure that was all that great back then.
You're probably right.
And I'm not sure it made me tougher. Yeah. So and one of the things that I'll do every now and then is I get to hear, and coaches talk about coaching today is so hard. And I'll call my old coaches sometimes and I'll say, what was it like? And it's interesting, their take. But here's what I always say. What if you'd have been a high school baseball coach in 1943, Jimmy? And you coached a kid in May in New York. 2 months later, he's in France.
Yeah.
Or what about 1962, 1965? And so I'm like, come on, guys. Like, is it really that much harder than it has been? Like, I think a little bit of perspective on what it maybe teaching would have been like during the Great Depression. That probably was harder than what we're having to deal with right now. Hey, we can't get our kids to get off their phones. Well, Tommy was about to go to Okinawa in 1942 or whatever. Like, so I'm real careful about comparing, like, oh, it's so hard today or so much different. I think all that stuff's relative, honestly.
But let me ask you something, because something just popped into my head when you were talking about this, when you said about telling the kid to get off his phone. Is it really hard to do that? Okay, because I don't think it is. I think it goes back to what we were saying before, what your culture is.
You promote.
Exactly.
Yeah,
what you stand for. Now,
100%.
my players know, don't go on your phone. And if a guy does go on his phone, I don't have to do much. All I can do is just give him a look. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then bang. That phone.
We had a deal with Sloss where you couldn't have your phone in the clubhouse. We bought a little one of those little cheap teacher racks, and they had to put at A&M we had cubby holes, and when they design the new facility at Texas, they're going to have cubby holes as well. But they had to put their phone up before they came in the facility. And if you saw somebody with a phone, you were empowered to go, hey man, go home. We'll call you when we need you. And it was more about connection. We'll have the same thing at our place. But I'm on my phone a lot. I use my phone as a tool. It's a good communication piece. I'm not as negative I'm not down in the phones like a lot of people do in the electronic communication. I want our guys to have connection and with each other. And when we put that thing down, it is easier to have. We're not going to have it in the dugout. We're not going to have it in the locker room.
Right.
But I also think that's an excuse. It's kind of like everybody wants to blame all the problems on the transfer portal. Well, we've always had a transfer portal, and it actually started in high school a long time ago. Yeah. It actually started with travel baseball. Yeah. What happened was, I think 15 years ago this started happening, and now those kids are finally playing it. So, but I think we blame a lot of stuff on the phone because it's an easy excuse. Yeah. There are some issues, but mine's sitting right here, and I bet yours is too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right now, so, I had to turn it off.
Yeah, 100%. Me too. But it's interesting.
Yeah, and the other thing too that you said that I want to go back to and touch on a bit is about empathy. So I think that something like that, okay, I think that that's almost a natural progression. So in other words, So you're 58. I'm 63. Okay.
Yeah,
We've had kids. Our kids, we've gone through that, and through the maturation of us, we learn how to deal with kids better. Okay. And
yeah,
I
yeah,
believe that makes us more, or gives us more wisdom. It gives us more feeling, I guess is the word I'm looking for. So we will have more
sure.
empathy for kids. But I always felt that building those relationships and making the kids know that you care about them. And I tell most of my guests, because you've probably never listened to the show, but at the end of the show, I use the term that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
So
Okay.
true.
And
So true.
yeah, when you let a player know that you care about them, okay, and you do have that feeling for them, um, you know what? If you have to ride a kid a little bit, it makes it that much easier because afterwards you can always go and put your arm around them and say, hey, bud, I love you to death, but come on, you know better
Yep.
than that.
Yeah, that's
So,
right.
so
No,
it,
no
it
doubt, no doubt, 100%. And I think that runway of having raised kids helps with that too. And you've coached long enough, like I have. I was telling our junior parents this morning. There's a young man who I talked to 3 days ago who played for us at Freedom and who wasn't very good. But it was a problem. He didn't like me. His parents didn't like me. And now, 25 years later, he's like a really good friend of mine. And we talk, I don't know, once a month. And I think what he finally realized was I was lucky to be on that team. I learned a lot of cool lessons from coach. But you have to have that runway. You have to have that 25-year period to see that. And I had some of the best advice anybody ever gave me. Chip Henderson. Chip Henderson is a rock star preacher here in the Jackson, Mississippi area, a church called Pine Lake. And he told me one time, he said, Coach, you're a good coach. You have 27 players on the team. 24 of them love you. Their families love you. They're wanting you to pour into them, and you got three over here. They don't care much for you. They never are. Coach those three, love them, but quit wasting your time trying to save them because you're neglecting all these other ones. And then he said this to me, Jimmy. He said, "Other people's opinions are none of your business," and that was pretty good,
yeah,
And what we've got to understand in this world is not you're not going to click with every kid. I'm going to try,
yeah,
but it is harder. But it doesn't need to stop you from loving the ones that you can, and then also knowing that chapter's never written.
yeah,
You may have a kid now that's not crazy about you, that like my guy I was telling you about 25 years down the road, you're talking to him once a month. So
yeah.
I think that's real, and I've seen that happen a lot in my career.
Well, I think it was Sheets that said it. Well, matter of fact, I know it was, and I can't remember how he put it, but he said, I think, 33% of the people are going to be in your corner all the time. There's going to be 33% of the people that are not going to like you. They're not going to be in your corner. And there's 33% that, could go either way. And he said, and that's the way you got to look at it. And that's the way it's going to be.
That's
And he's,
that's pretty true, and I'm impressed that Sheets could actually do that math. That's probably what's more impressive about that, and than anything is that and that's still not 100%, but he got close
he
anyway.
got
So
close, right?
I got to get a little dig on Sheets. Yeah, it'll get back to him too. I'll hear about this.
Oh, yeah. And I'm sure that he'll probably laugh as hard as I did.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Oh, God. So let's go back a little bit to culture because this is something I like to talk about because I don't think that a lot of people understand, what culture is. So,
Yeah,
you know, tell me, what does culture actually look like for
I
you?
think that my definition of culture is very simple. I think people have a tendency to think that culture is this mystic formula or this crazy equation or like Neo in the Matrix. Um, it's just simply who you are, what you do, and how you do it.
Yeah,
That's all it
that
is.
is.
It's who you are, what you do, and how you do it.
Yeah,
It shows up every day and manifests itself in everything that you do. That is what culture is. And it's okay to have a t-shirt. It's okay to have a slogan. And we have a process here that we borrowed from Brian Kane called MVP, Mission, Vision, Pillars. And we did it today. We had what we call two MVP wins. We have a classroom session, 22-minute classroom session, less than 22 minutes. And I said, all right, MVP win. And we have a guy that gets up, he says the mission statement and the pillars, and he gets a little rubber band, and they all go crazy. I stole that idea from Coach Slosh, but you've got to do something to bring it to life every single day. Your kids have to really be able to understand it. But again, it just goes back to who you are, what you do, and how you do it. And it literally affects everything that you do, and it manifests itself in everything that you do. And that's it. Don't make more of it than it is. And I think what you do is you decide what you value. That becomes your standard. You educate the kids how to live up to the standard. You practice it. You show them how to do it. Then you hold them accountable. And then you review, adjust, and then you know what you do. You recommit to it again, and you keep doing it. I'll give you an example of that. At Texas, at the University of Texas, turns at third base, we value turns at third base. You were going to touch the inside corner of the bag. You weren't going to go on the grass. So that became our standard, right? And then we told them why it was our standard. Okay, we lost a game one time because we didn't do this. It cost us a win. It cost us maybe hosting a regional. We know that 76% of teams that host regionals go to. We bring it to life, and then we teach them how to do it. We show them video. We do a walkthrough and a drill. Then we do it live, and then we go back and we watch it. And if they did it well, we hold them accountable. If they don't, we make the correction, and then we recommit again. That's what culture is.
Yeah.
It's what do you value? It creates the standard. Education, do it, recommit to it. And it's just a never-ending process. But you have to understand what you value, and what you value creates what your standard is. And to me, that's culture.
Yeah.
And it's easy to understand and explain to me. It's very hard to do.
Yeah.
And like you said, a lot of people don't have the stomach to hold kids accountable to do it. But that's what culture is.
Yeah. When I was at Lord's High School my first year, I went into the AD and I said, do me a favor. I said, when you have the hats made this year, I said, on the side of the hat, I want you to have embroidered SCID. I said, is that possible? And he said, yeah, I could do it. He says, but what the hell is that? I said,
I'm down to know. What is it?
That's sportsmanship, character, integrity, discipline. I said,
it.
I want it on their hat so that they have a constant reminder of what we believe in.
I love it.
And,
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and
That's
I mean,
awesome.
now, like to your point, okay, yeah, great. We put it on our hat. That's all fine and dandy. But now we got to live it.
Okay. You got to live it. Yeah, you got to bring it to life every day. And then the other thing that we try to do, and I got this from Brian, but we do a little exercise with our guys. Is so our pillars are elite, excellence, loyalty, integrity, toughness, and energy. And then we have a definition for each one. But then we ask our guys, what does excellent look like academically, athletically, socially, and spiritually? So, what do each one of our pillars or our core covenants look like in your daily life? Not just an athlete. That's a really fun thing to do with a team. And it's just another way of helping them understand what culture is, and bringing it to life and bringing it off the wall and off the back of a T-shirt and making it real.
Yeah, yeah. So let's move on a little bit here. This is a good one. What can college baseball on a whole learn from high school coaches?
That's a great question. I've never really thought about that, but I think that one of the things that and when you talk about college coaches, that's a really wide range. I mean, absolutely. I have some friends that coach Division I baseball. They don't know how to even pick a rake up, but I have some friends that coach college baseball who mow their own fields. So, that is, I think, maybe an understanding of how many things that a high school coach has to do. Most high school coaches, duty in the morning at 7:30, you got to do carpool duty, and then you go teach 4 classes, and then you have 1 period to plan or whatever, and then you get to the field, and you only have 45 minutes. And I think just their time constraints a little bit. I think that's probably what a lot of college coaches could learn maybe. But then again, I have a lot of friends coaching college baseball that that have to do all those things too. Maybe the parent thing a little bit. I think it is a little bit different probably in high school baseball, but that's a hard one for me to answer. But, if you're talking about the guys at the highest level of college baseball, the things that they have to do on a daily basis are much different than my buddies who are NAIA coaches or junior college coaches or whatever. But I think probably just the time demands of a high school coach. They're usually coaching more than one sport. They're usually teaching classes. They usually have duties, which I've never understood why school administrators do that. It makes no sense to me. you take the guys that are there the most, and then you give them the most duties. Like,
Yeah.
why do we not put the English teacher in a it makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
You have the guy that works 7 periods, and then if you maybe 4 more periods if you were to count practice, and then you're telling them to be there the earliest and stay the latest, and the coaches are always the ones that get to that. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Never has, and I've argued with administrators over that. Fortunately, I'm somewhere where a lot of our coaches don't teach, so it's understandable for them to have to do certain duties or whatever. But I think that would be number one, and then just maybe 3 too is the lack of resources to train athletes. And then I also think like you need to give the coaches a break, because sometimes you get a kid as a college coach and like he didn't, nobody ever taught him that, and we're going, yeah, we did. He just wasn't very good, or he couldn't remember. It's not always we didn't teach him that, but also just maybe the limited resources that where we are in this part of the country, we have really great resources, but if you look across the board, there's a lot of high schools that don't have pitching machines or great training facilities, or like you guys in New York, you can't go outside a lot, so maybe just a better understanding of, what it is, it's simple. Seek understanding, not judgment. Like, try to understand where that person's coming from instead of just judging them. I think that would probably be something that would probably be my best answer, honestly, as I think about that a little bit.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to blindside you with that. I just felt
no, that's a great question.
It's a great question. You've been coaching high school. I've been almost every question in the world, but I don't know if I've ever had that one. That's a good question, Jimmy. I like that. Yeah, that's good. I'm going to think some more about that. Well, yep. I can tell you the one thing that came to mind, and you just alluded to it, was the facilities. Because the last high school I was at, we didn't have a baseball field, we didn't have a pitching machine, we had nothing.
That's great. Yeah,
nothing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
We had a beautiful turf facility for the football team, though.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Did they play football in New York? I didn't even know they played football in New York. Well, I mean, did the Giants even have a team anymore? Or are they still playing football in the New York Football Giants? I'm a Cowboys fan, Jimmy. It's been a rough 40 years or so, buddy.
I'm a Giant fan.
This is the year. The Cowboys. This is the year. We're doing it.
I hope
Super Bowl.
For your sake, I hope you're right, but
I don't really believe that, Jimmy. Oh, shoot.
So what we used to do is I told the AD, get me a couple throw down bases, and I could work. Yeah. But so again, right. I think that a lot of
making
times
the most of what you have, 100%.
You got to be creative. I mean, if you have to
be creative, got to be resourceful for sure.
If you have to do things in the parking lot, you do things in the parking lot.
Yeah, done that. Practicing parking lots, definitely done that. Yeah.
Exactly. So, how should a parent, or how would a parent know if their son is being coached well or not being coached well?
Are they getting better? Is there growth? You see real growth with the kid, not just from his play, but the way he takes care of himself, his attitude, his growth mindset. I think that would be my number one. And I think too, do they love it and want to keep going back and doing it? And sometimes we make the game not fun. I mean, I've been guilty of that, and I got a daughter who just started playing volleyball, and she wants to be coached. And when she comes home and tells me what they did, she's excited about it. She wants to keep getting better. She wants to grow. To me, that would be the simplest answer, is just growth. Is that young person growing and helping them become the best version of themselves?
Yeah.
I think that's how I would answer that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good question.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that, and the reason why I ask that question is because it's something that I think about all the time. How do I know if that parent believes or
that you're doing a good job?
I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Can they see it in their player?
And I'm looking at something. It's so easy. Like, the easiest answer is that they're winning, but there's so much more to it than that. But to me, it's just, is that kid becoming a better version of himself?
Yeah.
I think that would be the best. Not just as a baseball player, but as a human being as well. That's how I would answer that.
Yeah, and I would also apply that not so much to your your top 6 players. I would apply that more to maybe your bottom 6 players, because
That's hard. That's hard. It's hard. Like that's something that I haven't been great at in my career that I'm trying to be better at is coaching the guys that aren't the best players
yeah,
or coaching the guy that's not getting to play very much and you know that he's okay with it, but maybe mom's not. That's hard because
yeah,
it gets weird, and that's a tough one. I still not sure that I don't think I'm as good as that as I want to be. But it is a hard thing to do. So yeah, how do the last 6 players on your roster feel?
yeah,
It's good. It's a good thing to think about.
yeah,
Scary.
yeah. And then,
Good thing to think about.
I mean, it is something that I think about. Well, I won't say I think about a lot, but I think about it occasionally, and it
Yeah.
goes back to like we were talking about before, where I say you have to be brutally honest. Okay, so in other words, your bottom 6 players, and correct me if I'm wrong with this, but if you go to your bottom 6 players and say, hey, bud, listen, let's work on X, Y, or Z, because
Yeah.
that's gonna help you, da 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 da, and I'll do everything I can in my power to help you with this. Okay, and do it. And even if they see a little bit of success in what they're doing, that's a win.
Yeah. For sure.
And if
For
mom and
sure.
dad see it,
Well, yeah. And I think though the elephant in the room. This is it's always about playing time.
sure,
Any parent, it's always a playing time deal. And the thing that happens sometimes too with that, it's not so much a reflection of that kid as it is maybe the team he's on. Like right now, Jay, we have some really good players. We got some good players that aren't going to play.
yeah,
And it's not because that kid stinks. He's a pretty good player. It's just that we got some guys that are really good. So it's not always about your kid.
yeah,
And your kid may be pretty good, but there may just be people out there that are better,
yeah,
and sometimes that's hard for a parent to understand. And that's okay too. I give them a break. Parents they're agents, they're advisors. They don't see their kid, and that's okay. Like
yeah,
I'm okay with that. I give them a break, but the thing that I think it's important for parents to understand is we're on the same team.
yeah,
And the worst coach in my 34-year career, I'm thinking of the guy right now, the worst coach I've ever worked with, even he didn't get into coaching to screw over a 16-year-old kid.
exactly.
The worst coaches I know don't want to do that to a kid.
That's right.
And now you may not agree on playing, who's supposed to play or who's pitching or what the batting order. That's okay, whatever.
Right.
But the fact that you would think that I'm doing something to hurt your kid,
Right.
that's asinine.
Right.
Like I don't know anybody that would want to do that.
That's right.
This nobody takes the abuse that high school teachers and coaches take to do it to hurt a kid.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, saying that out loud sounds crazy, but I think some parents really, and they talk themselves into believing that's true, and that's one of the things I tell our parents is, I mean, I'm on your team. I want to help your kid be better.
Yeah.
We may not agree on how to do that, but I'm willing to listen. What do I need to do to help? But again, I think a lot of times it comes back to playing time more than it does anything.
Yeah. I could tell you a quick story about that, and you'll probably get a kick out of this. So when I first took over the program at Lord's, they had been one of the worst programs in Section 9 for 10 years when I took it over. And my first year there, I knew we weren't going to win. I knew that we would have a losing record. But you know what? We're rebuilding a program, and we'll do what we have to do. So anyway, the reason why I said that is because I was able to do what I did because of that. So anyway,
Yeah.
kid was a senior. His dad sent me an email about playing time. My son should be playing. This is his last year. He's a senior.
Sure.
And the kid was a wonderful kid. I love him to death. Just wasn't a good ball player. So I said to the dad.
Yeah, what a good player.
So I said to the dad, I emailed him back and I said, "You want him to play?" I said, "That's all you had to do was ask me." I said, "No problem." Next day I started him. Okay. So he went 0 for 4 and made 3 errors, let's say. I don't remember. So
Yeah.
that was that. Then I didn't let it go with that. The next game I started him again. And again, maybe he got 1 hit, maybe he went 1 for 4, but he only made 2 errors or whatever. So that game was over. After that game was over, I sent to Dad an email. I said, "You want me to keep going?"
What would you do? That's pretty good.
And he came back.
Yeah, it reminds me of a great story I heard a coach tell one time. He was having trouble with a kid, wasn't getting to play, and the parent came in and talked to him, and or he was having trouble with his attitude, and they went back and forth, and the dad kind of understood the kid had a bad attitude, and he said, "Coach, I appreciate your time. Well, we can get some of this straight, and I appreciate you working with my boy. But I got one more question to ask you, Coach. Like he said, every time he does get to play, you bat him ninth. Why do you bat him ninth?" And the coach said, "Because I can't bat him 10th." I wanted to play one year without a third baseman. We were so bad. We didn't have a third baseman. I was like, I called my dad. I said, "You think I could just line them up and not have a third baseman? I mean, could we hit 8 and just play, you know?"
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we couldn't do that. But, yeah, that's funny. Why does he bat ninth? Because I can't bat him 10th.
That's great. I might steal that because
Yeah. Well, I stole it. Wayne Norfleet's the guy that told me that. He used to be a junior college coach in Tennessee. Great quote.
That's funny. I mean, yeah, I tell the parents in a parent meeting, as long as I've been coaching, there has never been a time where I did not play a player because I didn't like the color of his shoes. That never happens. Okay. I mean, I'm going to play the players that, we're going to win with.
Well, I'm convinced. I say this all the time. I mean, players make out the lineup, Carl. Coach does, but I'm fortunate. Jay, I have some great parents, and I couldn't do it without them. They're awesome. They support me. They've been amazing, and I've been fortunate enough. Most places I've been, I've had amazing parents, and I kind of defend parents. I think, coaches. You wouldn't believe the amount of coaches when I told them I was going back to high school. They're, "Your parent, what are you doing? Parents are all," and I would bristle. I didn't like that because I still think parents are amazing, and I want to work with them, But it is about playing time, and if you kind of get past that and talk about the elephant in the room, and let's talk, and I'll be happy to talk to you, and But it is that is a tough one. That's a tough issue, and it's a hot topic in our profession today.
Yeah,
for sure.
But then again, with parents, and this is where I feel a lot of coaches go off the rails a little bit. Okay. I think that it comes back to the same thing that I do with my players. You have to be brutally honest. So,
so.
and you have to do it with the parents too. Not that you're trying to be mean. You're just trying to you're just trying to let them.
You're trying to help them, and I think a lot of times parents equate their kids' identity with their playing time, which is sad. And I try to. That's hard. I get it. If your kid's still a great kid. He can be a great kid if he's not starting at second base. But I think that's a dangerous game. A lot of parents get into the fact that their identity is matched up with what kind of grades they make, or how hard they can throw a ball, or how fast they can run. And I think that's a dangerous place to be as a parent because, loving them unconditionally is really what we should be doing. So I see a lot of that, and that is disturbing to me sometimes, and I think that's something we deal with as coaches a lot. Yeah, I really do.
I agree. So I'm going to hit you up with one more thing, okay?
Great. All right.
So, again, you've been in this long time, 34 years. What do you think baseball is supposed to teach young men?
Wow, good question. I think people say this a lot, and I disagree with it. Baseball is built on failure. I don't think it's built on failure at all. I think it's built on opportunity. Failure is a part of the game, and I think probably one of the things that parents do a poor job of across the board, and I probably could be better with as a parent myself, is teaching kids how to fail. And honestly, really redefining failure. Like, let's just throw that word out. Let's get rid of the word failure. It's just you're just learning. You mess up, you get back up, you do it again. You mess up, you get back and do it again. And so I think that would probably be the first thing that comes out to me is that I told my children there's only 2 things I can promise you. 1, I'm going to love you. And 2, you're going to have difficulty and adversity in your life. It's going to come at some point. I hope you have a great marriage. I can't promise that. I hope you have a great career. I can't promise you that. But I can promise you 2 things. I'm going to love you, and there's going to be a time in your life where you're going to have to face some adversity, and giving them the tools and equipping them to do it. I think that's what baseball can really teach us. I think the second thing that we can learn from baseball is that there's so many amazing people and so many amazing relationships. You think about all the places and people baseball has exposed you to. It is really phenomenal when you think about it. I mean, it's taken me to Venezuela and Guatemala and the East Coast and the West Coast, and I'm on a call with you. I've been guy in New York, and I got my Arizona buddies, and so I just think the amazing opportunities and people that we can meet through baseball. That would be my answer. One, how to overcome failure and show up every day and stay in the fight. Being consistent is such a superpower. And then it can teach us that there's so many beautiful relationships and people in the game that we're just fortunate to be a part of. That's how I would answer that question.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, number one, that was a great answer. And number two, I can't thank you enough for coming on tonight. I really can't.
Oh, I've enjoyed it. I can't believe we've been sitting here for an hour. It's crazy. It flew by.
I say it all the time.
I got a pizza waiting. It's not New York pizza, but I got a Papa John's pizza waiting for me downstairs. And I got to go. I got a new house, and I have it's an older home, but I redid my pool, so I got to go sweep my pool now. Oh, so for the first month, you have to sweep it every day. So I got to go do that and try to get in bed a little early tonight. But this has been a pleasure, man. So when you get ready to put this out, tag me and whatever you have to do, and I'll make sure I retweet it and all that good stuff. So,
well, I was just going to say to you, if you don't mind, if you want to give everybody your, social media contact, if anybody wanted to reach out to you, how did they get to you?
Oh yeah, I am at Chuckbox1969. Feel free to follow me there, and then we'll definitely, when you put it out, I'll make sure that I retweet it or whatever you call it on X now, repost it, quote post, whatever you call it. But yeah, it's been a pleasure, man. Let me know if I can ever help you, and if you're ever in Jackson, Mississippi, the food here is incredible. I had redfish fajitas last night.
Whoa, that sounds.
The food
good.
is off the charts, and that's another reason I came back here. I like to eat, Jimmy.
Yeah,
so I'll take care of you.
You and me both. But I mean,
if you're ever in Jackson, Mississippi, I got you, buddy.
I was going to say, you just made it very tempting for me to get on a plane and come down there.
Get you a road trip, baby. Get you a road trip and hang out. But yeah, please stay in touch with me, okay?
I will, Chuck. Thank you again. I appreciate this immensely.
My pleasure, brother. See ya.
See ya.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye. I knew coming into tonight with a coach that had 34 years in the game, we were going to talk some good baseball. But I think what I enjoyed the most was when the conversation went beyond baseball. There were so many little nuggets about coaching, development, dealing with parents, holding kids accountable, building relationships, and understanding what culture really means. The first thing that Coach talked about that I want to go over, because it's something that I tend to overlook, and I didn't really see it from the way Coach Box explained it, but it kind of opened my eyes to things. So he said that he feels bad for parents because they're being forced to make difficult decisions. They're constantly receiving messages about what their child supposedly has to do. They got to play on certain teams. They got to attend tournaments. They got to get lessons, all of the travel, specialization. And if they don't do all of this, they risk falling behind. So all of this stuff creates tremendous pressure because most parents are just simply trying to do what they believe is best for their child. And they may not have all of the information that they need. So I thought it was pretty interesting that, he took that take on what parents do, because a lot, and I'm guilty of it too. A lot of times we beat up on parents because we say that they're doing all of the wrong things. Well, you want to know something? There's so many ways that they're being pulled and dragged that maybe they really just don't know what the right thing is to do. I like the way we got into, his preparation and his organization and how his practice plans were so detailed, and the organization began out of necessity because he didn't have a lot of coaches and he had to use his players to implement his practice plans. And I love the way he said that the greater preparation actually created greater flexibility than making everything very rigid. I thought that was a very good point. He also talked about letting kids be kids. He actually raised a really important question when he said, when are kids going to be kids? He talked about kids going fishing and riding bikes and family vacations and all of those experiences outside of baseball. And he also strongly supports playing multiple sports. He said that playing a secondary role in another sport, a secondary role, can even teach a talented baseball player how to become a better teammate. We also talked about building the athlete before trying to build the baseball player. And again, we've talked about this many, many times on the show that, he talked about building a 3-story house. You have to build a foundation before you build the 3rd floor. And we talk about it. You coach the person first and you coach the player second. And again, all of those type of things come from people like Coach Box. This is where we learn this from. He also made sure that he mentioned catch play and how that may be the most undercoached fundamental in baseball. He called catch play a cornerstone of the game and believes that too many coaches simply tell players to go get loose rather than actually coaching it. If there's one thing that I can get through to all of the coaches out there is that catch play is a drill. It is not simply to go get your arm loose. There are ways to do it. There are ways that it has to be done in order for it to benefit your players. So, I can keep going on and on about the stuff that we've talked about, and it's no surprise that Chuck Box is a coach that he is, from everything that he mentioned on this show. So I hope you got as much out of it as I did, because, once again, another great episode. So, if you enjoyed today's show, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Visit the website at thectbshow.net. Listen to your favorite episodes and please leave us a review. You can also reach out to the show on social media, X, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and get this, the old man has finally got us on TikTok. Keeps me young. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like me to cover, please drop us an email at clearingthebases@gmail.com. Your feedback helps us bring you the best content and reach more people in the baseball community just like you. And also, let me know if you'd like to be a guest. Until then, coaches and players, keep practicing, stay positive, and remember, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Thanks, everyone, and I'll see you on the next one.